Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome to the Career Show where we talk to experts from wide ranging fields to understand what has been their journey and what makes them unique and successful. Today, I'm your host Ankit Agarwal, and we have on our show Nikhil Deshpande, who's a social media marketer based in Melbourne, Australia, where he manages the social media accounts of none other than ICC, which is International Cricket Council. He's also a media consultant for World Poker Tour Global, which is a poker tournament that is conducted all around the world. At a very young age, Nikhil has managed the social media account of one of the greatest boxers in the world, Mary Kom, and also cricketers such as Ravindra Jadeja and uh,
Bhuvaneshwar
Bhuvaneshwar
Kumar.
Kumar.
Yeah, yeah.
So that must have been very exciting. I know Nikhil from a very young age when we both went to the same school. He was 1 year senior to me, and as much as I remember, he had a lot of energy when he was playing or hanging out with his friends. I could see that when we were playing cricket or football. He was also awarded one of the best outgoing students of his batch, and it is an honor to have Nikhil on the show today. And I would like to hear more from him. He has a very whimsical sense of humor, which I'm sure we'll get into it, and that is reflected in his memes as well. So, welcome, Nikhil, to the Career Show.
Thanks, Ankit. Yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be like a fun conversation, right? Like, and like you said, we go back a long time. Like we were in the same school. We have played cricket together, football together. So, yeah, it's been a while since we have gotten in touch. I think it's about time we have gotten in touch actually. So
Yeah.
this is a great initiative, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a great conversation. I'm like eager to share some interesting stories which people would probably like. I mean, there are stories like how one random Facebook comment actually landed me my first job in the sports industry and stuff like that. Like even like you said, managing the social accounts of Mary Kom, Bhuneshwar Kumar, and such at the age of 21. So what was that like? So yeah, surely I would like to share a bit, and hopefully people listening like it and learn something from it.
Oh yes, I mean definitely. When it comes to like sports management, right? First of all, it's such an upcoming field. We don't know much about it, and when we hear something like that has happened, like I'm definitely interested into knowing all about it. So let's start by knowing a little bit about like how did you grow up? What was your childhood like? Since you had all this pent up energy, right? What was the source of all of it? Where did it come from?
I think the source of it would probably be my mother cooking great food, first of all. So there was a lot of energy by default in my body. But in terms of childhood, like it was a pretty normal middle class family from Belgaum, right? My parents are still back there. Lovely city, Belgaum, as you know, you're from there as well. Best
Yeah.
city in the world. And yeah, there was a lot of sports in general in my life as well. So that energy kind of went into sports, whether it was watching sports on Saturday, Sundays, or like just playing with my friends in the backyard or across the house on the ground, or like you said, we played on the same school team for cricket as well. So
I remember that.
yeah, exactly, and probably the best times as well. Like the childhood was pretty fun, and but in terms of the main attraction for me was always the weekend because that was the sports time. Either I got to play it or I got to watch the Premier League or the cricket or the Formula One. There was so much. Like dad is a huge badminton fan, so we watched a lot of that. So I was brought up around sports and always been encouraged to explore that. And yeah, I've pretty much used a lot of energy dedicated to sports, and that kind of reflected in the later half of my career as well.
Interesting. Yeah, because a lot of students do have interest in sports, but they never think that one day they'll make a career into it. And especially what happens growing up is like after their 10th standard, right? The studies takes over their sports
Yeah.
life, and they become inundated in like studies and preparing for like exams and stuff. Was that also the case with you in like coming up into 11th and 12th standard?
Yeah, 11th and 12th. Yeah, I mean, we are told, right, the most important years of our life. I mean, it
That's
is
a
kind of true, maybe, but the fact is that it's not. If you are in 11th and 12th, I'm telling you, you will be fine. Like, you will be fine. Don't worry. Like, don't stress too much about it. Give it importance. Be sincere. Work hard for it, but don't stress about it a lot. But in terms of like sports as well, like you said, some people just like give it up because of time constraints and studies and stuff like that. Sports in general, I feel like is should be if you are interested in it, then try to keep a part of your life around that and keep playing, because
yeah.
at the end of the day, right, it's scientific fact, like if you play sports you actually have more energy in terms of like learning, studying as well. It does help you and does take your mind off things as well, which is kind of important. You can't be just obsessed with the studying. And I'm not saying don't study, please study, but if you
At
are
the same
interested.
time, play is also very important. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like you'll be playing 9 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
It's impossible. So if you are going to take out an hour and a half, even if it's just working out, if you don't play sports, even if you just go jogging, walking, anything at all, if you like that, do it. And although in I think Indian education system, which is pretty flawed in my opinion, does portray the image that 11 12th aa gaya, then don't
Yeah.
play, stop everything, just study. I honestly hope that's not the case with most people, but I think that's just a fact, right? And it just happens. So it's a sad thing, but I hope it doesn't happen. It did happen with me, but not in the sense that I voluntarily stopped playing. It's just that everyone around me stopped playing. So
Okay.
it was also one of those things that I didn't actually have complete control over it. So yeah,
Yeah,
but
seems like it's an environment where there's a lot of peer pressure because everybody is just into like studying and
yeah,
not focusing on what makes them human or what brings them. Because after 10th, right, they kind of lose their identity a little bit
yes,
because they end up coming up in a new school, new
absolutely,
environment. And I think one of the things that connects people is sports. So if
yes.
they indulge more in sports, I think they'll have like a healthier relationships and also they'll have a better time studying as well because it helps them with their flowing
Definitely.
energies and everything.
Yeah, I think the first thing that you said, right, between first to 10th or during the school years, we are very sheltered in general. Like as Indians, right, we are very sheltered because we are taken care of by our teachers, by our parents. We like everything is like you're sheltered. So 11th and 12th is the first time you actually get a hint of your real life. Like you're just like let loose. Like although the teachers in 11th and 12th also are trying to help you, but there are so many people there, you're no longer in a
Yes,
class of 50, right? So you are left on out on your own, and at times it becomes really overwhelming for people to, and it happened with me. Like I lost track of my studies in 11th and 12th. I was not as focused as I was in from first to 10th, right? And I found it pretty hard. From my first experience of real life, I really found it really hard personally. So you're absolutely right. If you have like an outlet, like a sports in that case, please continue, because that kind of keeps you grounded, which is something which is really necessary in life and just in for growth in general.
yes, definitely. So, how did you stay afloat? Because I know that you went on to pursue your engineering, but how was
Yeah.
the transition to that? And why did you specifically choose mechanical engineering out of all?
So I come from a family of engineers. So and India as a society, right? We have built this notion that if you do engineering, your life is set, and that, to be fair, at that age, or at least 10 years ago or 12 years ago, when I was in that phase, I did not have as much, as many options. I didn't know there were as many options because I was in a set template. I had seen people around me with the blueprint of be an engineer, get a good job, your life is set, let's go from there. But the first step was being an engineer, right? So that was a goal by default since I was a kid, that in my head, I was like, let's be an engineer because that means you have a good life.
Yeah.
Mechanical engineering in general is a pretty evergreen field. My dad's a mechanical engineer, so I saw him being very happy and successful. So I was like, okay, we're doing something right. If we go into mechanical engineering and So that again was kind of like an easy option for me because mechanical engineering, like I said, evergreen
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
sector.
I remember people saying that, we are not going to stop using machines anytime soon. So mechanical engineering jobs are never going to run
Yeah,
out
exactly.
soon.
And then there is an option of, like if you are a mechanical engineering, it doesn't stop you from getting into the IT industries as well. So there's that element. Like I don't think programming people can get into mechanical, or maybe they can. I don't know
Right.
about that. I've not worked in that area, but still, in general, though, I've seen many people from my batch itself who did mechanical engineering get into Infosys, TCS as well. So there's like multiple options in that case. So in terms of options and being an evergreen field as well, and yeah, it just worked out that I got into mechanical engineering at that time, and yeah,
So you mentioned that, right? Like this was default for you that
yeah.
getting into mechanical and engineering. Was there any point that you thought that, well, maybe I should look into some other career at the
No.
time when you were deciding?
Honestly, no, because like I said, I didn't know. I honestly did not know that there can be. So there was medical. I'll tell you that there was an option. I am absolutely terrified of blood. Like I cannot stand blood. Okay, so medical by default was done, and I'm really bad with names. So biology in general was really bad for me. So the first thing I did when I passed 10th was get rid of biology and took computer science because I love computers.
Yeah,
So biology was, so medical was just off the table. So engineering was again like the default option, the blueprint, right, the template of
yeah,
the society which was there. And I was like, yeah, everyone's doing it, all my friends want to do it. It's like, and like I said, I have a family of engineers, everyone is an engineer there. So I was like, yeah, it makes sense. So
yeah.
I never even thought that there could be any other option, to be fair.
Mm.
Like really, I knew some of the options. I wish. I don't know if I would have gone for them, to be fair. Like, I'll be honest. I don't know I would have still been able to pick them or go for it. But I would have, now in hindsight, I honestly did not even care because I was like, sab bol rahe, karo, everyone's doing it, just do it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
That's the rite of passage.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think I'm not sure how the kids nowadays are thinking about it, but I'm pretty sure that template is still there, isn't it?
Oh, it
Like,
is still there. I mean, a lot of time they are anxious about what is going to come out, and they
yeah,
think that they have to go through engineering, and that is going to give them, because they are looking at a
yeah,
very short-sighted approach of
yeah,
like what is going to make them money and what is going to give them the job, but they're not looking at a career as a lifelong thing.
correct.
So,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
you get into engineering. Tell us, and that's like a 4-year process, right?
yeah.
Tell us, how did you enjoy? Did you enjoy mechanical engineering, and what was your college years like?
Oh, amazing. Best 4 years of my life. Like that was the time because like I was surrounded by like my friends, like we had like a good company during engineering. And in general, engineering gives you opportunities to do new things in general. Like I could play sports. I could win, not win, at least like participate in debate competitions. I won, small brag, but that's the way that engineering is supposed to be done, in my opinion. If you are doing it, explore all the options, because that's when I realized what I liked, what I did not like. Because that is the age where you actually start learning, okay, this is something I like more than the other things. So that's why I tried a lot of different things. Like I participated in robot making events. I participated in like hosting and organizing fests. So the management aspect of it came through like I said, debates, sports. So in general, like it was not just studies for me during engineering. Like I didn't focus on just studies, and that's something which I take pride in. But in the sense, like I would never regret doing any of that because I learned something from each of those experiences. So even though it was 4 years long and there was a lot of studying, I'm not going to just pretend that studying,
Yeah.
I don't, like there was a lot of studying in there, but I had a lot of experiences there which I would not trade for anything because all of them have taught me something going ahead in my life.
Interesting, because I think these 4 years itself, right, as you mentioned, they give us the opportunity to explore our interests. And it is
Yeah.
interesting how you said that you were participating in debates, you were conducting events, and you also studied on the side, which I would like to
The
believe.
study was made. Like, don't tell anyone that. But like, please, like, if I'm pretty sure mom and dad are looking at watching this right now. So I'm like, I studied. Studied was first. The rest of them was at the side of it. So yeah, study was first though.
Okay, so at that point, what was sports? How much sports was taking a precedent in your life? Like, were you involved with it, or just watching or participating?
A bit of both. A bit of both. To be fair, like I liked cricket and football by like if you're Indian, you like cricket by default. Most of us, let's be honest, okay, like most of the
Religion,
boys,
yeah.
like less of the girls, like everyone, India cricket by default. But I was really attracted to like football as well because I was to watch a lot of English Premier League. I go for Manchester United. I still wake up at 3 a.m. in Melbourne here to watch their matches. So that's like a religion for me, like a follow football. So I played a lot of it. I'm not as athletically gifted or dedicated to one sport that I could make a career out of it. And that's something which I learned during engineering because in school you're like, okay, TK, like we are like there are 50 people. If you're among the top 11, then you get into the team, you're
Yeah.
happy. And then you get into engineering and you look at the talent that is actually out there, right? And then you realize, okay, maybe it's not good for me. So that's when you realize, okay, all the sports is interesting. It's probably not something which I can make a career out of. And then you move past it, but then that kind of opens up the fun element of it. Like then you start playing it for fun. Like
Yes.
that's where that's how I started playing football for fun or cricket for fun, and then I realized, okay, I can just do it for fun and not actually take it seriously,
Yeah.
which is really good.
Okay, so now you're in engineering, the final year is approaching, and
Yeah.
everywhere there's a talks of like placement, where are people gonna get placed. And I think you graduated somewhere in like 2013. That was the time when they used to do mass recruitment through TCS and all that. So had
Yes.
you thought out how you are, what's your game plan? How are you going to navigate? Because I
I
don't think so there are too many jobs in mechanical with like good packages.
Yeah, I mean, this is a very weird one, but by the time I had reached the end of the degree, right, like I did not attend campus interviews, not a single one. Not a single one. Like everyone did, everyone got jobs. I was really happy for all my friends, really like celebrated all their wins, but I just didn't think that I was going to work in engineering. I didn't want to at that point. I just didn't attend any of the placements either. So when I finished engineering, actually, like that was the time where I was just trying to figure out what to do. Still, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. I just didn't want. At that moment, I didn't see my life as a with a job of mechanical engineering at that point. I had a backup, obviously I had a backup degree, so that comes from a place of privilege where I was like, okay, I have this degree now, then I can use it if I want later. But at that point I didn't want to, so I was just trying to think what I want to do because I was still not figured that out. So while I was doing that, I started writing sports blogs because like I said, now I know I can't do it, so I started writing about it, and just like for fun. And in the meantime I did like just start writing, watching sports, writing about it just because I wanted to. I didn't actually have any goal in mind, I just wanted to do it while I was doing it. But in terms of placements and recruitment, I didn't attend one. I didn't have a job offer when I passed or graduated from engineering.
Okay, so let's explore this a little bit.
Yeah.
You are out of college, you did not attend a single placement, and then you graduated. Now you're seeing all your friends have jobs around you, you're celebrating their wins. Kudos to that. But at the same time, you decide that, okay, let me start writing sports blog out of nowhere. And I don't think so you have done this anytime before.
Yeah.
So what came into you? Were your parents even supportive of this? You
Yeah, I
doing
mean,
it?
it was not a huge uh, commitment at that time, right? Like because I was doing it when in my free time and when I was free. What actually pushed me to do it was first of all the love of the game and the sport in itself, but also the fact that I wanted to just try things. just try things. Like I said, during engineering, right, I wanted to do everything. Like if there is an option which I think I can do, I want to try it. Let's see how good or bad I am, but let me try it. Like I built a robot during engineering. I realized I'm not good at it. I stopped doing it. But when I wrote a blog and I got some feedback from my friends and the other sports fans in the world, and some of them, most of it was positive, thankfully. So that encouraged me to write a bit more and a bit more, and then that's how it actually started. In terms of like support, though, like I think from ever since I was a kid, right? Like I'm pretty sure my parents have just said one thing: if you want to do something, do it well, and we will support you. Doesn't matter what it is, as long as it is not harming anyone and you're having fun and you're doing well, do it. So in terms of support, that was, I was lucky enough to do it. Like if they had said no, probably I would have stopped. I would have stopped. I would not going to be like, ah, no, I was a rebel. I would have done it anyway. No, I would not have. So they were really supportive from ever since I was a kid. Like anything that seemed logical enough, they were always supportive of it.
That's a very good point because I mean it's a privilege I feel to
Yeah.
not be pressurized in that moment because so many students actually try to start pursuing their interests once they graduate and start thinking that okay, now I need to really think about what I need to do. And since you did not have any pressure on of performance or getting hired or something, I think that helps release your creative juices, try something new,
Yeah.
and see what is working out or not. So tell us, like, what happened with your writing? Like, how did that translate into your first job?
Yeah.
What happened?
So that again, that this is a very funny story. Like if I tell someone, like whenever I tell this to people, most of them actually don't even believe it. But what happened was I was just bored one day, like just bored afternoon, doing nothing, switched on the laptop. And so I'm a part of very like various sports group on Facebook, like I was back then as well. And because I had a lot of time, I was just there, absolutely bored, and I saw someone post in a group asking for 10 questions to ask an Olympian because they had an interview set up. So I gave them 10 questions, closed the laptop, went away. That person liked those questions, so he went in on my profile to see who I was. And that's where, because the sports blogs which I was writing, I was sharing it on my profile as well. That's where they found it. And then that person reached out to me, sent a message saying, "Hey, do you still write sports blogs? We have a sports website and we are looking for writers.
No kidding.
So you like to write for us?" And I was like, yes, why not?
Are you
Like,
serious?
I'm doing nothing. I don't have a job, and if you're paying me for it, really good. And it's sports writing, and I'm already doing it. So if you're going to pay me for that, really good. So basically, that one random Facebook message or comment which I made literally changed my life.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just one moment. I
Yeah. I
don't do
know.
it, doesn't happen. If I
Yeah.
did it, the rest of my life changed.
Wow. I know serendipity knocks like very strange way, but this is one of the strangest one that I have heard till today.
I still don't believe it. To be fair, like even I feel a bit of like it's just made up, but it's not. It just happened. Literally, it just happened that way.
So what was this gig? Tell us about it. Like you were hired as like a sports
Right.
writer.
Yeah. So I started as a writer for a sports website called Sports Wiki, and they were based out of Gurgaon, Delhi. So I was writing from Belgaum itself for them initially, and then they asked me to come over to Delhi, the Gurgaon, because into the office because they wanted to expand the team, grow the website and stuff like that. So before that, though, I was working with my uncle in Goa for a while when between the engineering and this job. So while I was figuring out stuff, I thought, why not work with my uncle? He has a business, and he's probably one of the most disciplined and most hardworking people like in the world.
Yeah,
I'm not even
yeah, we
saying like
need that
that
in our life. Yeah.
in the world. So I was like, I can only learn good things from this guy. So please, like, I asked him, can I join it? And he said yes. And then when I got that offer from Gurgaon, from this website, he was again very encouraging. And he said, please go and try and see what happens. If you don't like it, obviously you can come back and join me again. That's not a problem. So I went there, and within few months, I was promoted from a writer to an editor. And a part of the company also managed social media accounts of cricketers like Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Ravindra Jadeja, Suresh Raina, Pragyan Oja, and also Olympians like MC Mary Kom, who was the like 5-time boxing champion at that time of the world. So that happened, and I was always like I said, I want to try everything in life. I want to try, right? So I saw that. I asked my boss, like, can I do that? And then he was like, do you know how to do it? I was like, nah, I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Then he's like, then how are you going to do it? I was like, and back then you have to understand, right? This is 2013, 14, right? So nobody, the whole social media management bit was fairly new that time. It wasn't a
Correct.
mainstream like as it is right now, so nobody actually knew what was happening. So he taught the ropes, like he taught me the ropes, like how we do things, how important it is, how to do like post things on behalf of those people, because you're not exactly posting like you're posting as Mary Com, you're posting as
Right.
Bhuvaneshwar
Right.
Kumar. So you know how media is in India, right? One mistake and they are going to sensationalize the whole thing, and it's going to be
Yes.
blown out of proportion. So the importance of it was really high. So he taught me that, and like I was 21, right? Like for me, it was like fun. Like come on, let's go. Like I'm going to be doing this. But that kind of taught me the importance of like being responsible, being a bit mature in what I'm doing as well. So for that age to get that kind of responsibility, really lucky first of all. So thanks to the boss over there who actually trusted me to do it. And secondly, this the whole aspect of it taught me a lot. Like I grew in that 1 year a lot as a person, as a professional, as a just a social media marketer or a manager in that year. That's when the whole story started. So if I write a book, that's my chapter number 2 probably in my book.
So, see you out of college, a 21-year-old, goes to Gurgaon
Yeah.
and start handling the social media accounts of giant personalities, right? Sports
Yeah.
personalities in our country. And I think like one wrong message or tweet, and then their ad endorsements are going down the drain,
Oh,
right?
that happened. That happened as well. Like and that was the first time that I had taken a holiday after 40 days. Okay, I had worked for like 40 straight days because we had a target to hit. So I had worked for 40 straight days, and my boss went, "Please take 1 day, 1 week completely off, and don't look at your phone or anything and all that." So someone else was managing something, and I can't exactly tell you who did what and on whose account, because it was a bit of a story.
Anyway, yeah.
But someone posted something wrong in terms of information. That's all. Nothing controversial, nothing. Just that they wished someone who was not supposed to be wished and something like that. And then the news was not actually authentic. It was just like a rumor in the mails, and someone just pulled the gun and posted something about it. So that happens. That happens. And that was the first time my phone was blowing up, and I was like, oh, okay, something bad has happened. So we went, deleted the tweet. By the time few media outlets had picked up the story and all that, but nothing bad happened out of it. But if that happens today, I can assure you that is a much bigger issue than it probably was back then.
Oh,
But
I
still
can
a major
imagine.
issue
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, okay. So, to even post about these people, you have to really know them intimately, right? Like, what is their day like, and what is their schedule? What are the events coming up? Their
Yeah.
day-to-day activities. What are their likes, interests, and values? So, were you at any point, face to face, interacting with these,
Yeah.
personalities and stuff?
Yeah, so creators are a bit harder to get a hold of because of how, all the traveling, right? And it's understandable because they're just playing so much. But I had a chance to meet MC Mary Com, and
Brilliant.
probably one of the most humble and brilliant human beings you'll meet like ever. Like it was as if she was your friend. Like when I met, right? Like and I'm trying to explain to her how we are going to do this deal with Vodafone, and like how she's going to be promoting that and all that, and she's like eagerly listening to me, trying to understand what we are doing, and I'm trying to be as brave as possible, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be confident, and I'm going to talk to her about it. But in general though, like it's that's again why I said that this role in itself taught me a lot, like not just the social media aspect of it, but like being a professional in general. That's when I actually grew, after the responsibility came to me, and like you said, meeting them in person, understanding how they speak, because I'm not the one posting, it's not my words, it's their words. So I have to talk like them. It's like a bit of ghostwriting element as well. So that, and it happens a lot. It's not like it's a rare thing. Many people actually give their accounts to someone else because they don't have time to manage it, to
Right,
let's
right.
be fair. And nowadays probably people are a bit more social media savvy, so some of them like it, some of them don't like it. So back then it was new, a lot of learning happening there.
So how did the sports enthusiast in you, right, feel at that point? Because you are a person who's like since a young age so
Yeah.
interested in sports. And then now you're working, breathing like sometimes 40 days straight in an environment which is about sports, writing about sports, managing sports accounts. How did that make you feel?
Like that again, like I said, like that's probably the dream. Like if someone had told me like that I was going to be working in that field or in that capacity at the age of 21, I would have probably told them that you're either drunk or you don't know what you're talking about, because it was like just too good to be real at some points. Like it's like you, not many people will get that opportunity. So I was like, I knew how lucky I was, so I took it very seriously as well, because I wouldn't like mess around with that kind of role. Like you, by default, like when you understand that there's something which is very valuable, right? Like let's assume you have a Ferrari, you're not going to drive it rash, right? Like you
Right.
are going to make sure you drive it as safely as possible, fast maybe, but still safely. So that's literally what it was. Like that whole experience was like so uh, valuable that it made me grow as a person in that small
Yeah.
amount of time.
Yeah, and you grew very fast, right? You started managing team of 40 members, and I think if you still continued in that place, you would have done great. But at
Yeah.
what point you decided that you need to quit this and then go for your higher studies in like sports management? What
Yeah.
made you decide that? Because I think if you were doing really good, then somebody did not want to like come out of their comfort zone and try
Yeah.
something new. Why did you do that?
I mean, like after a point, I think, like I said, I learned a lot from the place, and I think after a point, I just thought, or I felt like I had learned everything that I could in that place or in that role. And so there are only few ways you can accelerate your career after a point, which is either you get like a lot of experience, which takes time, or you get a master's degree or a higher studies, basically. So for me, that was a good time for me to change, because I think I had learned everything I had to, and developed all the skills I needed to. And then the next step was either doing an MBA, because again, engineering plus MBA, proper template.
Yeah.
There's a
That's like
blueprint
the
everyone
holy
has.
grail, you know?
Holy grail, exactly. Then
Yeah.
it's like tick box, okay, and then we are like move. But then
Yeah.
something in me, like it just appealed to me, because like doing a master's in sports management felt correct for me. Like rather than doing an MBA, I felt that was a better option for me. So I researched about it. Deakin University over in Melbourne is one of the highest ranked courses for sports management in the world. I think it's top three. It was top one when I top of the list when I did it. So I researched about Melbourne as well, and it felt right. It just felt right at that time. And I'm not gonna say it was the perfect choice. It was a very risky choice. I'm not even kidding. I should have. On days, I think I just should have stayed there, because that company grew a lot. Even they are doing right now really well, and I was so good. I had everything in place. I had a great team. I had a great boss. The company was doing great. Everything was there. I don't know why I decided this is the risk to take. I don't know. I honestly don't know why I did it, but it just felt right. And I just took a risk, a huge risk, but a good one at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that gumption, right? When you get that inherent voice telling you something to
Yes.
do it, sometimes
Yeah.
you cannot really reason it out
Yeah.
because you already have something very good to fall back on,
Yeah.
but sometimes you still want to take that risk and go for it. I think, yeah, it is difficult to make that choice in that moment, but hey, you did it, and today you're here.
Yeah.
Tell me, like, how was the transition moving to like down under in a completely new country and studying sports management, one of the things that you really love?
Yeah.
How was that experience?
that experience was really surprising to me. Like it was much harder than I thought. Much harder. Like there's one thing that people don't tell you before you move to a new country is like how sheltered we are in India. Like we can get anything we want in India done very easily if you really want to. When you come abroad and you have to do everything, and you realize, oh my God, there's so many things to do. And it's like there's so many new elements to it, like because like we mentioned campus interviews doing engineering, over here there is no campus interviews, at least for non-technical fields. So you have to find your own job. You can get a degree, the university will help you, but you have to find your own job. um, while you work, you have to while you study your degree, you have to work as well. You have to do job search, you have to talk to people. And another thing which I didn't know was that 80% of the jobs in this world are not on any website. They are
Right.
gotten through references and people who know about a job within a company. So then I started to talk to people. I had to learn how to talk to people because that's again something which we didn't know earlier. And the whole cultural bit of it, like how little of your Indian experience actually matters over here if you're from a non-technical field. Like technical field is universal, right? Like programming is universal. Doesn't matter what country you are in, what job you're in. Marketing, very niche though, because the audience is different. Indian audience is different to Australian audience, English audience, like US audience. They're all different audiences. So like for me, for my field, they were like, you have good experience, yes, but what is your local experience? What have you done over here? So from I had to start from scratch. I had to do
Right.
sales job. I had to do door to door sales jobs. I had to do telemarketing jobs. There was one point in my time where I had like $26 in my bank account, and I didn't know when how I was going to pay the next rent check. But that's when you actually realize how difficult this is. It's not about the degree; it's about the whole package of it, which is hard, and that's not something which we are told when before coming, because you meet someone, they are like usually consultants, they are like, sir ab chale jao, you just go there, you'll get a job, sir, you'll get a
Yeah.
degree, you have experience, you'll get jobs, like you'll be great. And then you go here and then you realize you're just one among thousands
Thousand.
trying
Yeah.
for something which is rare.
Yeah.
And it is not a good experience if you are struggling at times, which is something I genuinely feel people should know about before taking this risk, right? Like if someone had told me this, I probably would not have even taken the risk. So again, it's a fact that the whole package of it really difficult. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the biggest cultural shock for me.
Even when students ask me like about higher studies, I tell them that more than what your technicality, whatever you'll be studying,
Yeah,
you'll be gaining life skills over there, because
yeah,
that's where you will learn how to talk to people, how to hold a conversation. And this is something that has not been taught to us, or it's
yeah.
not a part of our culture, because we
No,
have been, as you said, right, so spoon fed
yeah,
by and protected by our parents and the community we live in.
yeah,
We don't really have to vouch for ourselves or make a standing statement for ourselves in the crowd that we are in. But then
true.
when we are put on the spots in a master's program, yes, that exactly the some of the things that we have to go through. And so tell me, like, among all this hardship, what kept you going? And because, as you said, right, $26 ka pay
Yeah,
in the bank account, you have to make the rent. I know
yeah,
those days.
yeah.
So, what was your light? What made you kept going?
Like to be fair, like I think just the fact that I had taken such a big risk, like it was like now or never kind
That's
of
a
thing.
fun.
Yeah, like you have to do it, right? Like you have jumped off the cliff now. You can't go in the midair. You can't go, okay, I want to go back. No, you're already in midair. Like you're gonna fall down. So either you're gonna sink or you're gonna swim. There's only two options. So you have to try every single thing. Like you talk to people, you get like you do your jobs. Like I said, door knocking, door to door. I have like knocked on 200 doors. 175 people of those don't even want to talk to you because who talks to door knockers, right?
Yeah,
No one. I would not, you would not. It's like fine, I understand. But hearing those many no's, like calling up people on the phone, and like it should not be said, but a brown voice in an Australian place and trying to sell you something on the phone, that doesn't look good. It just feels like a scam.
absolutely not. Yeah,
It just feels like a scam, and still you have to do it because that's the job, and then you do it, and then eventually you are hoping that once the degree is done, you have some experience, local experience, you have the degree to apply the job with, right? Like, and that's literally the hope. And a big part of it is just trying things, doing things, rather than like how in India we are like, we'll wait till the engineering degree is done, we'll do the place and we'll get a job.
Yeah.
No, it does not work like that. It should not work like that, because although it works in India, it doesn't mean that you should not be trying things on your own. And that's something which I learned coming after a year only. Like, I would not have done, I would have not, wouldn't have even known it, right? So a part of what kept me pushing was the fact that we have taken the risk. Now let's swim and just try.
Yeah.
What's
So,
the worst that can happen?
so how did you end up getting your gig or the first job out of college?
So after I finished my degree, like I started applying for like jobs, obviously, and it's brutal. I'm not gonna lie, it's like very brutal. For the first 3 months, did not get a single interview. The only good thing I did during that time was update my LinkedIn profile properly, updated my resume properly, removed all the spelling mistakes, removed any grammatical mistakes, made sure that if someone comes to my profile, they know exactly what I do, so that I don't need to explain it to them. So if they're looking for that role, if they see me, they should connect the dots and either approach me, or if I approach them, they should know it. But even after doing all that, it's like a bit brutal. Like when you get all those rejection letters in your email, right? And you're like, okay, maybe it's not going to happen. But one fine day, one recruiter hit me up on LinkedIn and said, here's a role. It's not exactly digital marketing like you want, but there is a sales element to it. But you are in a telemarketing sales role, so you are good with people, and you have a bit of marketing background. Do you want to apply for this? And I was like, yes, just get me in, whatever that is, just get me in there. I got the interview, spoke to the owners. They were really nice. They were really impressed by what I said to them. And they asked the recruiter to send the offer letter to me. And that guy gives me a call and says, hey, can you send me your permanent visa document? And I'm like, I don't have a permanent visa document. And he goes, what? Then we can't give you the job. And I'm like, what? What do you mean you can't give me the job? I literally spoke to the owners, right?
Yeah.
And that's a thing which we have never told again before coming here, that visa is such a huge issue when it comes to jobs. Like we said, 20% of the jobs are on the website, 80% are not. And out of the
Right.
20%, you are barely eligible for 50%, because the rest are just for citizens and permanent residents. So you're by default, you're eliminated from that as well. So for me to get this and almost lose it, and I asked them, can you talk to the owners and just check once? And the owners were like, okay, he has visa for 2 years, we'll give him a contract for 2 years, and if he can't figure out his visa after that, then we'll have to quit. Then I was like, cool, just give me 2 years, that I don't care right now, just get me out of here, get me into the industry, get me into the marketing field. So basically, I got my first job because of someone not checking and doing the due diligence, do like
Due
checking the,
diligence. Yeah.
basically checking my document. If that person had asked me first, do you have a visa? And I had said, I don't have a permanent visa, doesn't happen. And my career would again be completely different. So that
Wow.
one moment again, luck, but yeah, that pretty much changed everything.
So even in your first job, you had to show your sales skills by reaching
Yes,
out to
yes,
the employer and
pretty
asking
much.
them to check with the owner.
Yeah, and that's life, right? That is life. Like you, like if you like go to anyone and ask someone, 9 times out of 10 they're gonna say no, but one person might actually help you, and that's literally life. Even if you're in a job, like let's say if you need a favor from someone, they might not be able to help you, but someone might be able to help you. So it's like just ask, do
Yeah.
things. That's literally what
Yeah.
most of it is.
And so, what was this job like? Like now you are in a new country and you've got a job. I'm sure
Yeah.
there must have been a lot of, cultural differences when you're working in this office versus the Gurgaon office that you were working in. First, explain to us like what was this job role, and then tell us like what were some of the cultural differences you faced.
So the job was basically like so I was managing their social accounts, which were not that important for the business. So it was a good customer facing one. So like if a client came to their social media, they should know what they're doing. So it was an architectural firm, basically. And one of their products was a website where they sold everything connected to architecture, from like tiles to roofs to like taps, floorings, everything. So they had clients who used to come and advertise on their site. So uh, think of it like an eBay of architectural things for Australia, though. So they were the biggest in Australia. So they all those manufacturers used to come and advertise things on there. So my job was to put social media content on their page, saying, "Look, this is the product which we have on our website. If you want to buy and stuff like that." So that happened in terms of the role. And there was another element of it, like I had to talk to clients as well, like explain to them why is it useful for them to put more products on our website, so basically pay more money to us and get more products on our website and stuff like that. In terms of cultural difference, though, I think the first job was not as difficult or different for me personally, because after working the telemarketing jobs, right, and the door knocking jobs, this was like I was the king. Like I had to literally go sit in an AC office, work on a computer, answer a few calls. This was like I'm king, bro. Like I'm great right now. So that was like pretty easy transition. Overall, though, in terms of Australian culture in work sphere or professionally, I would say that they're a bit more laid back compared to India.
Mhm.
Laid back in the sense, like, not that they don't do work, but it's like they understand there is a work life balance. So if you want to take off at 4 p.m. on Friday because you have a social event to manage or go to, they're fine with it. You can, that's, no one's going to stop you. So that's a very clear difference which I feel between India and Australia, and in general, though, not just my job, in general in India, like where we have to show medical report and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that
yeah.
to get
I've
a
seen that too. I mean, that's specifically an issue with like Asian countries, South Asian
yeah,
countries, and like East Asian countries. They are like
yeah,
very rigid about their
yeah.
work life.
Yeah.
When it
Now I
comes
can
to
just
like
give a call to my boss and say,
Australia,
I'm sick, and he doesn't ask me why I'm sick. He's like,
yeah,
or what happened. He's like, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. Good. Done. And then that's literally what the biggest difference is. It's a bit more conducive to basic humanity, if
right.
that makes sense. They don't
Yeah.
expect you to toil your entire life into it. They are like, okay, we understand this is a part of your life. This is not your entire life. So that's the biggest cultural change for sure.
So now you're working a marketing cum sales job for, I would say, like a hardware, one of the biggest
Yeah,
online hardware platforms in Australia. But you had come here to, do sports management.
yeah,
And then back in India, also, you had an experience managing, great social accounts of like sports
yeah.
personalities. So then how did you break in Australia, into a sports management firm? And how did that happen?
So while I was working this role, right, like I remember my partner going after like 3 months. Like I said, I was like living the king's life, going into the AC, just enjoying, coming back, like relaxed, no pressure of jobs and stuff like that. uh, 3 or 4 months into it, right? Like I remember my partner asked me, like, "Is this really what you want to do?" Like I said, "Yeah, it's good." And she goes, "But that's not why you came to Australia, did you?" And I was like, "No." And then like, then why are you not applying for more jobs in sports? And I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." So we both of us together, we started looking for job openings which were in sports. So I did that. I applied for a few jobs roles, and then finally I got into a sports data analytics company, which was basically for a social media manager, a proper social media role. I got into that. I worked there for like 2 years, probably again, a lot of good learnings from there. Probably the smartest people I've ever worked with. Uh,
Yeah.
Hands down, like the sport data analytics, you understand how much brain goes into that, right? Like, and they're like into sports and that, and it's a very competitive field. So there was a very good amount of knowledge in that firm. And then from there, I was doing a few podcasts for cricket out of interest. And the person who was co-hosting with me, he actually referred to me for my current role, which is into managing the International Cricket Council's social media accounts. So he referred to me. I got the interview done, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, this looks good. You want to come aboard?" I was like, "Yep, let's go." International Cricket Council, like childhood dream.
Wow.
So that's literally how that whole journey went from from there to like into sports.
So, okay, you're working this job and then you get this interview, and then the job is literally to handle the social media account of ICC. I mean,
Yeah,
the ICC, right?
yeah,
So many tournaments happening across the year, and then you have to manage so many things.
yeah.
What was the job role like, and what was the responsibilities? Were you anytime overwhelmed that, oh shit, that this is
Oh,
ICC?
yeah. I mean, I at first I was not, because I was pretty confident in like what I could do in a role, right? But then on the first day of my role, like I went and checked out the following on each of their accounts. They have a total following of over 90 million followers in the world. So basically, I'm posting every day to over 90 million people, or at least around that mark. So that kind of took me back. I was like, oh, any mistake is going to be that amplified, like that's the amount of like the level of magnitude of that mistake
Yeah,
is going to be. So that kind of took me a bit back. The role in general was managing basically all the socials, right? Like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, just the general run of the mill, like all those handles together. And there's a lot of element of posting planning, which goes finding out which posts do well, which do not, what kind of content we should be creating, what we should not be doing, and stuff like that. So just the general social media aspect of it, but just the sheer magnitude of
yeah.
the role was what something did overwhelm me at the start of it. Yeah.
And how much liberty do you get in terms of like showing your creativity or bringing using your own skills
Yeah.
to this job?
Creativity wise, yeah, like pretty much we are given 100% creativity. So how we work is, because it's such a big account, right? It's not just me who decides something. Like it is a team of people who decide it. So uh, like let's say if I have an idea, I'll pitch the idea, and then someone goes, okay, this is a good idea, and then it gets discussed with another couple of people. And if two or three people think it's a good idea, then we go ahead with it. It's in general though, because ICC is like a like International Cricket Council, right? It's a governing body. It's not a team, where so there is a sense of a poise or discipline that we
Right.
need to maintain as well. So you can't just go around making memes for them. But having said that, it's not like we have that a bit of cheeky captions here and there, making fun of something which is like funny, like someone wearing a cap in a weird way, a fan
Right.
dancing in a weird way. So those kind of things are allowed, and it's not like we can't completely go into that realm, but it's just the fact that we have to be a bit sensible around it, around what we can do and what we can't do. So there is a bit of creativity there, but also the realization of how important uh, what you post is. So everything you post is, like I said, 90 million people actually might be able to see it every day. So there is a level of poise, discipline, and responsibility, which, like Spider-Man said, right? Like with great power comes great
With
responsibility.
responsibility.
So
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
So now with this great responsibility, right? You're playing in the big field. Now you're one of the like representer of the ICC, at least on the social media.
Yeah,
So I think you're also like paralleling with like other federations, especially Melbourne being such an important place for sports. The culture in the city is like so high all the time because there's like tennis, there's rugby, there's football, so many
yeah,
things. So tell us a little bit about how do you see that culture? Did you ever and tell us a little bit about the industry. Did you think that okay, there's a big business happening in sports, and how does that industry translate to like jobs and interest and
yeah,
your experience of growing up as a child and thinking that oh because you never thought right you could get into a career made up of
yeah.
sports. So what do you think about that?
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions, at least which I had, and I think many people have in India around sports, is that you have to be an athlete to have a career in sports. But the biggest takeaway from, if anyone's watching this and thinking what should I take away from this interview, is the fact that, think about it in this way: sports, there are only 11 people in one team, 22 on the field, cricket, let's assume, and then there's a coach, a few substitutes, all that. But for that match to happen, imagine the kind of work which goes on behind the scenes. And all those people, those are not athletes, those are common people doing jobs which is a massive industry, the sports industry. And so think of stadium management, think of marketing, think of finance, sponsorships, traveling, so booking your hotels, like everything. Like, they need people to do all those things. So you're still in that industry itself, but we just don't know, or we just don't think that far, that okay, we could have a career in that if we are not an athlete. So I'm not an athlete, but I'm working in sports right now on the social media aspect of it, because I'm good at that. So if you are in finance, you can still work in sports. Doesn't mean that you can't. They still need accountants to do their books, right? Like, if a team sells one player to another, that's still a transaction, financial transaction. Like, it's not the players who are going to do the math. You can do it. Like, there are doctors who work in sports, there are dentists, like there are sports dentists if you want to. So every single profession we are in, you can still work in the sports industry. And that's something which I learned after coming here, because I had not gotten that amount of exposure. So that is something which I learned after coming here, that okay, there are like multiple streams and not just the athletes. So they will get the millions, obviously, because they are the ones playing there. But there are people behind the scenes who are also working in this industry, and you could be one of them.
Yeah.
That's the biggest lesson which I learned after coming here, though.
And I think a very important thing is that if you bring that interest, if you bring that passion towards sports, I think your chances of getting into a sports industry with a job are like amplified.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, because if you don't like, you cannot work in an I feel you cannot work in an industry you're not passionate about. I feel it. I don't know how others think, but if I'm not passionate about something, right, I'm not going to be able to give my 100% to it. Like sports, I love sports. Like, you can put me in any, literally any sports environment, I'm going to thrive in it because I love sports. So for me, that pushed me into looking for that role. So if that pushes you, if that motivates you, please try, attempt to get into that field. It could be anything. It can't just doesn't need to be sports. But if sports is that factor, try your best to get into it with the skills that you already have, and there might actually be a career there.
Interesting, interesting. And okay, so now having reached this pedestal in your life, right? When you look back upon your childhood days and that younger Nikhil playing and also struggling with the studies, trying out different things, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Uh, Advice, good one. Actually, I would, and I cannot stress this enough. I would tell my younger self to do three things. One is to learn to write an email, a good email, because a good email is going to open doors to many opportunities which you don't think is gonna are possible. Just writing an email or an opening message on a LinkedIn account or anything, any handle today. Learn to write that, because it's gonna open a lot of doors. Secondly, clean your resume, make it good. Do not write singing as a hobby in your resume, because no one is going to care about it. I understand that it shows personality, but please do not write playing cricket as a hobby. Nobody cares. Please, like, make it a good resume, a good CV, and make it as perfect as you can possibly do. And third, being, just talk to people. Please just talk to people, because I did not earlier and I didn't know how to do it. But talk to people, ask questions of for with people who are already in those positions. How did they get here? So like, I'm talking here today, it's my experience. There could be someone else's experience, how they got into it, completely different, and you could emulate that. Like there are a lot of factors going into the role or getting the role, but if you don't talk to people, you'll never understand. Three out of my last four jobs I've gotten through references because someone referred my name to it because I spoke to them. So I told them I was looking for a job in this field, and they went, okay, I know this. Are you interested? And then I got that job eventually. So that's
Yeah.
literally, just do that and learn how to do it well, because that is going to change your career. And that's literally the three things which I would tell my younger self, because that would probably accelerate my career 10 times if I had
Yeah.
done that early.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even I keep telling people, the best person to talk to is the one sitting next to you. And the
Yes.
more they talk, the more they know about the world and then what people do. So I think, yeah, that is very important.
Yeah.
All right, Nikhil, I think let's open up for some Q&A and see like are we getting.
Yeah.
Uh, the first question that we are getting is from Kaustub. What are the top 5 skills required in your profession?
Top five skills in my profession, I would say first is time management, because social media in sports especially is like very hectic. In sports, you don't know what's going to happen. So if India is playing Pakistan today, Virat Kohli could score a century, he could score a zero. So if you don't know how to manage your time and get that job done within that time, you're missing the boat. And social media is all about timing. So you have to manage your time like perfectly. Second, being your just grammar and spelling. It sounds so basic, but it's the most important thing when you're managing social media accounts. You cannot make spelling mistakes. You cannot, because one spelling mistake can change the whole meaning of it. And if you're working in social media, that's, people can screenshot it and you're done. Once the typo is out there, the typo is out
Yeah.
there, right? So that's gone. The third would probably be work on your research element of it, in terms of learn what other people are doing, see what other accounts are doing, because there's only so much creativity that you can bring to a table. So you have to see what other people are doing, take inspiration from them, don't copy them. But if someone is making a meme, you can also see that this could be applicable for me somewhere down the line. If you see a
Right.
design you like, remember that, save that, use
Yeah.
it somewhere later in your own style.
Right.
So research in the sense like, see what's out there and then apply to it. Fourth, obviously being disciplined, because if you're not disciplined, you can easily get sidetracked on social media, right? Like who has not scrolled through their Instagram for like 2 hours and not know where time has gone? So you have to be very disciplined in that aspect of things. And the fifth, and I think it is probably again a very basic one, is that try to have fun with your job, because if you're not having fun on social media, then please don't do social media. It's not probably for you. Just have fun on social media, because if you're not having fun, your audience is not having fun, and that's the reality of it. So just try to have as much fun as possible in your role.
And then also we have a question: how do you handle failure?
Failure, uh, it's a very loaded question, to be fair, because it's a very individual based approach. For me, failure has been a part of my life, which has like in small bits, where like I said, when I came here, like people, I thought I would just pick up where I left from India, right? Like I was managing uh, big accounts. I thought I'll just come here, I'll just keep doing that, why not? I have the experience, why not? But then life hits you, and then you're like, okay, you have to just adapt now. But in terms of like how you would manage a failure, I would say start trying things and do things. It will, you will find a solution, and at some level you'll find it eventually. You will just run into the solution. But if you don't try things, you will never find the solution. So if you think there is a job which you are not qualified for, just apply to it. Let them reject you, you don't reject yourself. If you
Right.
think that a problem cannot be solved by doing X, just try doing X. If it doesn't get solved, you're still at the same position. But if you don't do anything about that failure, right, you're just going to be in the same position with the failure. So
Yeah.
rather than trying to sit with it, do things, do new things, do as many things as possible. And if you after a point, if you don't succeed, right, at least you're not going to be like, I wish I tried to do this. That's the point you don't want to ever be. Like,
Yeah,
if you try everything and you fail, that's fine. If you don't
yeah,
do anything and fail, then that's probably on you because you have
right.
not tried it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's your answer. Have a doer's mentality.
Yeah.
All right. I think, Nikhil, we are also at the top of our hour. Thank you so much for your time. That was all the question and answers we will do today. And yeah, Nikhil, thank you so much for your time. We learned a lot from you, and I hope our viewers will also take a leaf from your book and apply it in their own context. One of the important things that I learned is like having a passion and interest, and finally having a doer's mentality.
Yeah.
With that note, we will sign off from the Career Show. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel on YouTube and IG, that is Nidhi underscore Gani. And then we'll see you with another show and another personality in the next episode. Until then, stay curious, stay hungry, stay foolish. All right. Thanks, Nikhil. Have a good
See
one.
you. Bye.